Guys and gals, welcome back. Hope you're doing awesome. So today I want to cover one of my actual favorite sharpening systems. Had this one for a while and it kind of got my passion going. So I want to share that one with you because I've used a bunch of different systems. But this is the one, if I had to start my business from the ground up again, this is the first one I would buy. So let's get to it. So yours isn't going to come in this fancy box, but they do have a model that comes with its own carrying case. And honestly, if I could go back in time, I would buy that one. So this is the Edge Pro Apex, which is their base model. It comes as a knife sharpener, really basic in this little package, but at the same time, it's pretty high quality for just being able to carry around. They do have the little water bottle. I always carry a little thing, a spray bottle of isopropyl alcohol, and a Sharpie for the Sharpie trick, which you'll get to see here shortly. The glass base is so that you can attach it to something so that it's not wobbling around and has somewhere secure to stay. Now, I've used it pretty recently, so there was a little bit of metal shavings because I have a magnet in the front. So the other part of setting it up is taking this armature, which is also in that package. I've already got a stone in it, but make sure the armature is facing the correct way so that you've got the guide rod in the middle. Tighten down the screw in the back to lock it down, and then you can adjust the angle to whatever the angle is on your knife, which that's the big thing for the Sharpie trick, which I'll show you here shortly. So today I'm going to sharpen one of my personal knives. So it's not bad, but at the same time, it does need to be refreshed. So in order to change up the stones, you turn the knob, that black thing, counterclockwise, loosens up the clamp, put the stone in, turn it clockwise, tightens up on the stone, and it's not going anywhere. I like using diamond stones personally because I can just spritz them down with a little isopropyl alcohol, and works really well. So this is the Sharpie trick I was talking about. Basically, you draw a line on that secondary bevel or the very edge, just so that you can see if you are, like when you're sharpening, if you're removing that Sharpie mark. And that's big because if you're brand new to sharpening, you don't know if you fully apex, you don't know if you're hitting the correct angle. It's really, the Sharpie trick is by far one of the better things that I've learned how to do, and it's something I would say if you're new to sharpening, use it. It's a great way. And I'm just dinking around with a few of these little things. This is a magnet that keeps it magnetized to the table, so you don't really have to hold it. There's an adjustable table guide for bigger or smaller blades. They've got all kinds of cool little attachments you can get for this. And then it's just as simple as this. And I got pretty lucky with that. I had the right angle just from the get-go. Now I'm going to speed it up. You can see I've got my bunch of stones. I've got everything from like 80 grit all the way up to a 4,000 grit diamond matrix stone, which I get a little nerdy with this stuff, but you don't need all of those stones to get a really sharp knife out of this system. And I know I'll also get the comment, well, Sam, this isn't very fast. Well, I would actually disagree with you on that one. Yes, it's not as fast as the 1x30, but in compared to a lot of systems, this is significantly faster. So I had to go grab the perm paper because I wanted to show you just how sharp this is. Of course, it'll cut through paper, but try cutting perm paper if you really want to test a knife sharpness. This is like nerdy level sharp when you're going sharpening. For me, it's what I enjoy with my personal knives, but at the same time, the fact that you can just get those results fairly easily out of this system it's a no-brainer. And the nice part about this system is it's really flexible and modular. So I originally bought the Apex because I was only sharpening knives, so didn't have a need for sharpening scissors, chisels, that kind of stuff. Which, if I could go back to my past self and say, hey, you want to buy the Pro model, I wish I could do that. But at the same time, hey, it's nice that I can buy the parts aftermarket and that they work with this system. The fact that the parts are interchangeable, it's just a well thought out system. And this is the scissor sharpening attachment, which I've done several pairs of scissors, several pairs of shears, and I'm blown away with how well these work on shears. Like, I have a flat hone, been doing shears on the flat hone, they turn out good, but when I did it with this, it was a noticeable difference. And as you can see, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to take off the knife sharpening part and put on the scissor sharpening attachment. So, for putting on the scissors, really straightforward. Loosen up that top screw with an Allen key that's provided. Slot it in. Tighten down that screw just so it's not... It basically is just touching. The thumb screw puts extra tension on it. And then the stop bars on both sides make sure that it just doesn't roll. I doubt it would, but at the same time, better safe than sorry. And I'm glad that that's something that they thought of. You can also put a rubber band around the handles if you're worried about it, like the other blade coming down. And yeah, it's very well thought out. So I'm just trying to set the angle on it. It's going to be close, but it's not going to be fantastic because this factory ground edge is really bad. Like, I'm just going to flat out say it. This edge needed work. So I'm doing the Sharpie trick just to see, okay, am I too high? Am I too low? What I'm taking off, and, okay, do I need to take off more? So I wasn't as lucky this time, and it was too acute. So I'm going to adjust this pivot lock, which is basically what keeps it from sliding up and down when it's along that bar, and sets the angle. So I'm going to make it more obtuse. And then you can see, very basic adjustment that got me right where I needed to be. And for those of you with keen enough eyes, you can see that there's some little pits that the Sharpie's not coming off, just because it was so poorly ground from the factory that it just needed to be reflattened. And then we check for a burr. Scissor sharpening is really easy for the fact of a lot of times when you get that burr felt, you're about ready to go to the other side. I didn't quite feel it, so I wanted to just do a few more passes, make it a lot more, like, noticeably felt. And something that's super nice, which I'm actually going to showcase here, is it's really hard to round out a tip on this system, as opposed to a lot of the powered sharpeners. If you're not careful, you will round out tips. As opposed to this, as long as you're holding it straight, you're not going to round out the tip, which is a huge thing for beginners. If you're a beginner, be careful when you're doing the tips of knives, because you can round them out so easy. And then we're just going to flip over to the other side. And I'm not gonna make you sit through watching both sides. I mean, if you like it, let me know, but at the same time, I'm gonna speed it up just so you can see. It's a fairly quick process. So one of my favorite things to cut is this microfiber cloth, just for the fact of it's not easy to cut, and that first cut is going to be really hard because of the burr, but you don't want to cut those scissors without anything in them, just in case that burr flips around and gets in front of the blade. You can possibly damage the scissors and just be right back to sharpening them again. So cut some microfiber, cut some fabric, a piece of paper. You'll notice it very quickly, and then it gets really smooth after that first like one or two cuts. And I know this isn't as impressive as the knife, but still, cutting perm paper is still a pretty good medium for scissors, just making sure that it works for fine, delicate stuff. And, I mean, it does it really well, which I'm not surprised. The fabric, I was more worried about.
So now you've seen why I really like this system. It's really forgiving, really user-friendly, easy to set up, easy to use. I mean, there's not any drawbacks for me. This, by far, would be the first thing I would buy if I was doing sharpening from ground zero, needed to learn the good fundamental basics, all that kind of stuff. This gives you a good understanding of how an edge should look. And it's extremely forgiving. I mean, it's really hard to use this system, come out of it with, like, fully sharpened, and it not be really, really sharp. It's a great system. Like, the fact that I still use this when I do scissors, this is my go-to thing. Like, I can freehand scissors, you guys know that, but when you start getting into the very edges, the very tips of scissors, it is so crucial that you don't roll even a little bit. And that's where this thing shines, is the fact that it is so precise that it really takes a lot to mess that up. So, if you made it this far, thank you for sticking around. I really do appreciate it. I know it was a little bit more like a technical ranting and that kind of stuff, not so much sharpening, but I really wanted to showcase one of my favorite systems just for the fact that it's very user-friendly, very beginner-friendly. So if you're watching this and you haven't sharpened a knife, you might look into this system. It's honestly the one I would recommend very highly. 1x30 I wouldn't recommend to a beginner just for the fact that it's a very fast learning curve. Well, I wouldn't put it very fast learning curve. It's a fast learning curve for the fact that the abrasive's moving so fast. So that's why it's a fast learning curve. But it's very aggressive, and if you're not careful, you can absolutely destroy a knife. As opposed to this system it's slower, yes, it's methodical, you got more of that ASMR kind of stuff going. It's a really fun little system, and one I constantly go back to just because, like, it's what drove my passion into knife sharpening. Like, that was one of the systems that when friends and family would come over, I'd sharpen for them and use that system. It does a good job, and I mean, you saw the results that it does on a knife. It's very hard to beat that, the fact that it's that sharp of an edge. You can really finish it out on whatever grit you want, and that's the really nice part, is it's so flexible. They've got so many different systems, like the chisel, I mean the scissor attachment you can use for chisels, scissors, that kind of stuff. And then they've got a bunch of other attachments too, which are fun to look up and see. Like, they're constantly innovating and striving to do more things. And that also brings up another question. So they're in Hood River, Oregon. I'm in Battleground, Washington. How many of you would like to see if I can go to their factory and like talk to Cody and just give you a little behind the scenes kind of thing? Let me know down below. Let's see if Cody will respond to that and see if I can go down to Hood River and check out Edge Pro, because honestly, one, I would love that just because I get really nerdy about the sharpening and all that kind of stuff. And two, they are a wonderful company. Like anytime I've had a question and called them and said, hey, how would you do this? They've always had an answer, which that speaks volumes to me. That's like hugely why I will support companies like that. If you're a company that really doesn't care about people, okay, you're just another one in the dozen. But a company that actually cares about people is the huge difference. And that's the big reason why I really like Edge Pro, is anytime I've had a question or concern or something like that, I can reach out to them, talk to them, and it's not a robot machine, it's a human. And that speaks volumes to me. Not to mention, and this is a big one if you're a USA made kind of person, they're made here. They're made in the USA. So if that doesn't already speak to you, I don't know what will. So until next time, guys, take care, stay happy and healthy. See you next time.